Welcome to the picture book edition of Meet the Creator for February 2024. And I am so delighted to be talking to Marisa Dulac today about this absolutely delightful picture book. There's a tiger on the train. So welcome, Marisa. It's very nice to see you here. Are you happy to give us a little bit of a reading just so that we get a flavour from it, please?
Of course. Okay. So there's a tiger on the train by me, Marisa Dulac, and illustrations by Rebecca Cobb. You'll never guess what happened on our trip down to the sea. A tiger in a top hat came and sat right next to me. He growled a gruff "Good morning," took a comic from his hat, then disappeared behind it. "Hey, Dad, did you see that?" But when Dad put his head up, there was nothing much to see. Clank, rumble, clank, clank, rumble went the train down to the sea. Till tumbling through the doorway came a crowd of crocodiles, with spades and rings and buckets, dripping water down the aisles. Next came 3 large hippos with a steaming pot of tea. They had a tin of chewy sweets and offered one to me. To say no was bad manners. I was sure Dad would agree. Clank, rumble, choo, choo, rumble went the train down to the sea.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is nothing nicer than hearing an author read part of their book to us. So we all love that. So thank you very much. So this is your debut book. What is your, if you like, what's your day job? What's your background?
So I used to work in publishing. I worked in publishing for quite a long time, children's book publishing. And then I'm on the marketing side. Then I went freelance. And then during COVID, I'd always done a little bit of writing. But then during COVID, when I was homeschooling my children, I started to sort of do a lot more. And then I thought, you know what? This is what I really want to do. And then I was lucky enough to win a book prize with Faber, and then they offered me a deal. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to switch things around, I'm going to change things. And I decided that I was going to become a school librarian, which I'd always wanted to do. I'd always wanted to be a librarian. And then I became a school librarian. So I do that 4 days a week. I'm a school librarian, and then 1 day a week, and during the weekends and evenings and mornings, I do my writing.
Well, I'm sure everybody watching and listening will have just squealed at the fact that you're a school librarian, because that's what most of us are, or I was certainly. Best job in the world. Best job in the world.
Absolutely. I love my job so much. I really do. It's the best move I ever made. Really love being a school librarian.
So was the fact that, are you in a primary or a secondary, Marisa?
Primary.
So is that what influenced you to want to do a picture book first?
I've always loved picture books. Picture books has always been my passion. And when I did a degree in English literature, and then I did a master's in children's literature, and I specialised in the picture book side. So that's the bit I really like, the young bit, and I love the combination of the pictures and the words and the pictures together. So that's the thing I really, really love.
I've got to say, I mean, you were preaching to the converted, because my favourite animal is a tiger, you see.
Oh,
so,
fantastic.
As soon as I saw the title, I was like, yep, I'm going to love this. And I did. I did indeed. I must say, what I particularly liked is the fact that that's made it clearer to me, because it is going to be such an amazing book to read aloud to children, because of the onomatopoeia, because of the rhyming text, which, now you've told me you work in a primary, that explains it a little bit more, because, you're obviously very masterly at that. And for a debut, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
What was the inspiration for the story? Because there is a very strong message in the book, isn't there?
there is a message in the book. For those that haven't read it, slight spoiler alert. The little boy is going to the seaside with his daddy, and his dad is on the phone. He's on his mobile phone all the time. And so the little boy encounters all these fantastic creatures and animals that come on the train. And the reason why I was inspired to write this book is when, as I said, I used to work in publishing, and my job was quite full on. And I remember really vividly a moment when I was supposed to be pushing my daughter. It was a day I had a rare morning off, and I was pushing my daughter in a swing, but I was trying to manage emails at the same time. And in those days, it wasn't smartphones, it was Blackberries, and I was on a Blackberry trying to do my emails. And she was getting a lot less pushes while I was doing more emails. And then in the end, I took her out of the swing, and she got really cross, but not with me. She got cross with the phone. She was really cross and angry with the phone because it was obviously taking my time away. And it taught me a bit of a lesson. I mean, I'm not going to say that I was a perfect parent after that. I was not. I still love using my phone. But it just kind of gave me a bit of a sort of wake up call, and it made me think, do you know what, actually, maybe when I go to the park, I'm just going to leave my phone at home, or I'm going to leave it in my bag. Just so that I've got that quality time, even if it's just 15 minutes or half an hour out of the day when you're just one-to-one and it's just you and the child. And I think that kind of was a bit of a wake up call for me. And that was my inspiration behind the book.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter who will be, well, she's not going to get the book because I love it too much to let her have it, but she'll be able to read it when she comes to Nanny's next. So, and I know she's going to absolutely love it. But I think for me, what I notice when I'm with her, we're also conscious of taking pictures. And of course, if you're taking a picture with your phone, it's far too easy to flick to something else, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's really true. I think that's really true, definitely.
It's a very easy thing to, it's not something you want to do, but you almost do it by second nature, don't you? You kind of like, oh, I'll just have a quick look. So I loved the message. I think it's a brilliant message.
And the thing I would say as well is, as I said, I'm not the kind of parent that's saying, oh, this is what you should be doing, or this is what you shouldn't be doing. Like I say, I use my phone all the time. I love using my phone. But I think the problem is that because we use it for so many things like paying the bills, ringing the plumber, checking your emails, it's so, it's not like you're, just on Candy Crush. You've got important things to be doing on there, but it's just, sometimes it's such a distraction. And I think that's what, in the book, it's that he loves his little boy. It's not that he's a bad parent. He's just getting distracted by modern life, and that's what it's about, really.
I love Rebecca Cobb's illustrations. They are just amazing. Were you equally enamoured with them?
Well, I have to say, I mean, I was already a fan of Rebecca Cobb before Faber suggested her as a possible illustrator. And I was very lucky with Faber. They involved me very much in the process of sort of looking at different illustrators, and I got sent lots of samples, and they sent me samples which always had the tiger and the little boy in them. I saw some lovely tigers, lovely little boys, and it was really, we were trying to decide which one, and then suddenly they sent this image. It was actually a rough of that image of the tiger and the little boy. And that was it for me, because I think she so beautifully captured not just the tiger, not just a little boy, but the kind of relationship between them, that kind of, and that to me was just it. It just hit it completely for me. So yeah, I just think she's just got it just perfect.
You can read so much into those pictures without any words, can't you? They are just absolutely amazing. Another thing about it, of course, is that the little boy is not the same colour skin as his dad. And I'm guessing that representation is a very key thing that you wanted to include.
Absolutely. Obviously, I am mixed race. So my dad was from Barbados, and my mum is from Yorkshire. She's white British. It was quite important to me when I wrote this book that it was a mixed race family.
Yeah.
And I also really liked the idea of there being a dad and a little boy, so one parent as well, because I think there's so many families where and there isn't any mention as to reason why. I mean, it could be that mum's just at home, but it's that feeling of the fact that it's the dynamic between those two, in addition to the fact that that they're not the same colour. And I think when I was growing up, there were very few books that showed Black children. I think I was 14 before I read a book that featured a Black child as a main character. So it was quite important. Oh, things are changing, thank goodness, for the better, which is brilliant. So that was quite important to me. And also, as someone from a mixed race family, I just think it's really great to be able to see lots of different types of families in books. And I think it's really important I think it's really important for everybody to read books which have got different types of people or families in them. That's how I feel. I think that, and I see it myself as a school librarian. I think that if you give children a varied diet of books with lots of different types of people in them, then they stop seeing people as other or different. They just see it as someone telling their story, someone who like me, who's got a story to tell. And I think that's really, really important. So yeah, that's something which I was really pleased about.
I couldn't agree more. So what are you working on next? And is it for a similar age group?
Well, I've got a couple of picture books in the pipeline. I've got another one coming with Faber, and that will also be illustrated by Rebecca Cobb. That's called The Ice Cream Crocodile, and that's not coming next year, possibly the year after. But next year, I've got another picture book with Faber. With Walker, and that's my first with Walker, and that's called The Silver Shadow, and that's with a different illustrator. And then I'm also working on some older stuff, still primary. I can't imagine I'll ever want to write for above 11 years old. I think that's why where it stops for me. I've got a lot of respect for people that write older than that. But I've got something coming for ages 7 to 9, which I'm working on with my agent, which is I'd say it's probably core middle grade. But that's completely different, obviously, because it's more of a sort of like a novel. So that's been completely different for me, which has been really fun to write.
Excellent. So we've got lots to look forward to coming from you then. Absolutely
yeah,
wonderful.
It's a busy time. It's been good. It's been so exciting, though. So exciting.
Okay, well, these interviews always absolutely fly by, and this one is no exception. So thank you very much for coming to talk to us about this absolutely delightful book. And we're looking forward to seeing what comes next, Marisa.
Thank you so much. And I wish everyone a really happy Well Booked Day, if you're watching this around Well Booked Day time.
Thank you. Hi everybody, and welcome to our next edition of Meet the Creator for February 2024. Now, I have been looking forward to this interview for weeks, guys, weeks, because today I'm going to be talking to poet Alex Wharton about his 2 new books, Red Sky at Night, Poet's Delight, and also Doughnuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees. So welcome, Alex. Lovely to see you here.
Lovely to see you, Bev. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, I have to say, if I was asked to describe your poetry and your performance, I would always use one word, and it would be joyous, because it is. There is so much joy in your poetry. Would you be okay to read us one of your poems just to get us started, Alex?
Yes. How about, would you fancy Inspire?
That would be lovely.
A poem that you'd like to read. Okay. Okay, so this is called Inspire, and it goes like so. And it's from Red Sky at Night, A Poet's Delight. How will I inspire? I've been thinking every night. I write the things I know, and I write the things I like. How will I inspire? And how should I explain that my brain thinks in poems and I spill them on the page? How will I inspire? I'll tell them what I do. I walk around and catch every idea passing through. How will I inspire? I'll let them know the truth, that poetry is a power tool that everyone can use.
Wonderful. Absolutely won't. You see, if I had my way, Alex, I'd just sit here and you could read me poetry. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that. I like
yeah,
that. I'm happy to read some more poems anyway throughout this interview. You just let
that
me
will
know.
be wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so first question. When did you first know that you wanted to be a poet? Is it something you've always aspired to when you were younger?
No, when I was younger, well, when I was younger, I was like in a bit, there was moments, I had a brief kind of, I was in a rap group for maybe a few months. We were really lucky. We had some people come from Cardiff because I grew up in the South Wales valleys. So there wasn't really much going on in the valleys, to be honest. But a group of rappers came to our youth club and then they got us writing and they got us creating. And it was absolutely brilliant. So that was really fun. But that went away. And, I worked in construction then from 17 years of age right away till, I don't know, 26, 27. And there was a brief time where I started writing short stories, maybe in my early 20s for my children. Like I would just make them up for bedtime and things. And I loved that. And I thought, imagine going on schools and things and reading these, because obviously I thought they were good. But nothing really happened with that either. And I think I was very concerned about like who I was at the time. From an external perception, I thought, well, I'm a builder. I play rugby. Like this is not really anything I could do, or I haven't studied English literature or anything like that. But then when I was about 26, I was just journaling, and then it just led to poetry. So I would say that poetry found me really. I didn't think, hey, I think I'm going to be a poet, or I didn't even really consider writing poetry. It just happened upon me, and then I haven't really looked back. I found such a good sense of self-expression through it and therapy through it. To be honest, it saved me. Poetry kind of saved me. That's what I would say. So, how could I turn my back on it? I could never. It's just a part of my life now, and it's just such a lovely thing. So.
And that's really, really interesting for me to hear when you say, your self-image was very much as this rough, tough builder, if you like.
Basically, yeah. I've always been like a bit of a storyteller. I like kind of, I just like making things up, having fun with language. But I didn't know, no one would have ever told me, perhaps you could do this, or perhaps you could write stories. It's just not something that I ever considered. But I've always had a bit of a wicked imagination, and I like the dreamscape. I love the idea, and just creativity in general. But even then, I never really stopped and thought, what is creativity? And I think, for example, if you asked any builder around, or anybody doing certain roles, they would probably say that they're not creative. And I would have said, if someone asked me in my early 20s, I probably would have said that I'm not creative yet. I was, designing bathrooms and building things and, and tiling, natural stone, or all this lovely stuff. But so I think it's a strange thing how we perceive what it is that we do, and whether we are creative or not. I think you think it's quite obvious if you see a poet or a writer or a painter, oh, they're creative people, but we're all creative, and the creativity is the real magic of it all. That's why when I visit schools and things, I hope to inspire them to follow their passions. I'm not saying you're going to be a poet, or perhaps you want to, but perhaps not. The fact is, if you like netball, if you want to be a gardener, if you want to be a pilot, whatever it is, I hope that I invest a good sense of creative magic and creative electricity, really, and then who knows where you'll find yourself if you remain passionate about what you do. But for me, poetry found me, and I'm just kind of finding myself through it.
I've got to agree. I couldn't agree more about, the poetry as therapy side of it, because I very much use it the same for mindfulness and for my mental health. Very much so.
It is a blessing. It's a real blessing. It's there for us all, and it's always been around, isn't it? Hence why we use it at so many special occasions. For some reason, it's just there when we need it. So it
is, and there is always the right poem for the situation. I think there's always something that you can read. And interesting what you said about the inspiration of creativity in the children, because I love Doughnuts. I love both books, but what I really like about Doughnuts is all of the poetry tips that are in there. And was that something that was really important to you to include?
Yeah, this book is kind of like this book, Doughnuts, Thieves, and Chimpanzees. If I was going to get there, it's a bit of it's quite bright, isn't it? The light here.
Yeah.
But it's really about collaboration and encouragement, because, like I said, I didn't go ahead and study any of these things. My learning has come a lot from self-directed learning, from reading. I read tons, and I was consuming and absorbing the world around me, literature. And that's why I think it's quite unique, because I found my own way, and that's been helpful to me. But yeah, these are prompts, and you know, maybe have you ever wrote a haiku? This is how I do it. This is how you do it. You know, these are the rules around it, and maybe you can have a little look. Limericks, rap, and then I just talk about, you know, maybe what rappers do. What some people don't consider, that they work into, you know, beats per bar. So there's there's this element of time to it, and rhythm, and obviously musicality. So yes, it's just an invitation to explore words and to see that it all comes from a similar place. That because often children say to me, "Oh, you know, do you rap?" So I say, and I might say, "Yeah," and I'll just rap one of my poems, like Jelly Bean. I'll read it like a normal poem, and I'll say, "You know, there's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in hairs." And they're like, "Huh? Oh, so it's a rap?" So I'm like, "Well, it's a poem, but that's me rapping it now." So it's kind of like just showing them that it all comes from the same place, and you don't have to like wait for anyone to open a certain door to say, "Oh, but you could do." I like to just show that it's all there. Just explore it, be curious. So this is a playful book. Like I said, it's a lot based around performance and collaboration, and of always joy. Because I feel poetry should not just humor, but I think that there's a heavy light that you should have in a collection of poetry. You know, maybe a humorous poem, then something sensitive, and then something humorous, then maybe something philosophical. It's a journey, isn't it? You know, and the same way that we speak, the intonation in the way that we speak, the rise and fall, and all of that. I think that you should try and mimic that in a collection, so that it's an enjoyable read and it's not all one thing. If it was all just funny, I think it would be like more of a joke book then, and I think that's why they pop a lot of children's poetry in the joke section. But it's not about it's a different form of language, isn't it? There's, like you said, there's that musicality and there's that twisting, lovely thing. So there's so much to it. I go on about it forever because I just get excited about it. But yeah, Doughnuts is a love. Yesterday I was at a school. Well, I performed at a few schools yesterday, and they were just so enthused, and they had so much energy, and they all wanted, they liked that I put lyrics in this book. And that's something that I really wanted to do, because there are song lyrics and rap lyrics in this book, as well as haikus and limericks and just traditional poetry in general. And I'll show it all comes from the same place.
Which I couldn't agree more. When I was a school librarian many years ago, I was in a semi-tough all-boys school where, let's face it, poetry wasn't their first choice. And we had I arranged a visit from a rapper called Mr. Midas, funnily enough, with the book trust. And I tell you what, those kids just got switched on, you know, within 5 minutes of him being there, because he was talking the same sort of thing. He was saying, yes, you know, this is my rap. And he did lots of the call and response. Always doesn't it? Call and response is a good one. And then he was explaining to them, you know, "Oh, well, who likes poetry?" Not a single flipping hand went up in that hall, you know. And then he went, "Well, what do you think we've just done?"
Yeah.
That's what we've just done, you know. So the ties with rap and other things are just amazing. I think they're fabulous.
Yes.
You are, of course, the Children's Laureate for Wales. So what has that meant to you? What has that entailed you doing?
You know, I suppose the focus is with the Children's Laureate Wales is developing literature within Wales. So I'm doing a lot more schools and, you know, I don't know, library visits, all of these things, and thinking about the communities and thinking how I can work within like, I don't know, maybe impoverished communities within Wales. Is something I really wanted to do, to just make sure that people in these communities know that poetry and literature and that whole sense of curiosity and exploration is there for them. You know, I want to be that ambassador here. So it does mean that, you know, basically the role is an ambassadorial role, and I have a duty really to celebrate the joys and of reading for pleasure, of writing, of just, you know, all of the benefits that we can gain from exploring words and language, and how that it can help us in our lives. So that's just something I'm doing. So I'm doing my usual school visits, which I do all around the country, but also I'm thinking of other ways. I'm doing a walk actually in May, and I'm going to kind of like travel from my house and walk to like Hay-on-Wye. It's like a 5-day walk, but I'm going to be visiting schools every day and really just exploring the landscape and writing poetry each day. I'm going to be camping in the nights, but then visiting a new school and telling them the stories that I've had from traveling to their school, do a big assembly and do like a creative writing workshop. I just want to engage with as many young people as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the way I work is for everybody. A lot of the time, teachers and librarians, whoever, they're inspired. I just hope we're all inspired by each other. You know, it's a kind of knock-on effect, isn't it? It just ripples outwards. And also want to show off the landscape, Welsh landscape, and how important it is that we can learn about our environment, so that there's more likelihood that we learn to protect our environment. I write a lot about nature, so I think that it's so important that we learn about it. So yes, the laureate role is for 2-year tenure, and I've started in September, and there's tons going on. It's hard to know where to start talking about it, but I think I need to do just a little bit about it. I think it's 25 days each year.
Yeah.
Obviously more work comes in and then I take that freelance, but I need to, that could be visits, that could be public appearances, maybe commissioned poems, research. So they work it out on a 25-day basis, and that's spread out through the year.
Well, that journey sounds absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Apart from the camping bit, Alex, I don't do
I know. I'm thinking what I want to do is just really make it, because I think that I'm going to blog it a bit, and it might be that I kind of do a bit of a radio documentary on it as well. So I just thought, in the night I could read some poetry around the fire and things. It's just all about, I just really want to just try and find, I suppose with poetry, you're just trying to find the truth of things, and maybe what is the truth of what I'm doing,
Yeah.
And it is, a lot of it is down to exploration. It's down to togetherness, communities, cohesion, and, art, basically, and what it means to us within the landscape, within us as people, and our stories and everything. So I just thought, being in nature, if I could stay outdoors for a few days, because they say once you've gone past 4 days, you feel a little bit different anyway. And it's such a lovely place to be able to walk anyway, through the Black Mountains and towards the Brecon Beacons. It's not a bad place to be. So, I didn't.
Put it this way, Alex. When they devise a tent that's also got a spa attached to it, then I'll be with you. All right?
Yeah, that sounds all right, doesn't it? That does sound.
Unfortunately, no. Now, both books have got wonderful illustrations from Ian Morris and R.H.I. Smith. How much collaboration did you do on those, or did you just get to see them as the finished result?
Well, with Doughnuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees, it's Rihanna, and it's Ree Smith, and it's my auntie. So it was so it was lovely, and obviously with Daydreams and Jelly Beans, I got my phone. That Daydreams and Jelly Beans has kind of been quite, I suppose, for children's poetry, and because it's quite a slim genre in the sense that it's hard to promote poetry for children. You go from the Gruffalo and all these rhyming poetry basically in picture books, and then it kind of just dithers off. But it's doing really well, and I think that, so I had a little bit more autonomy then with Doughnuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees. I said, look, my auntie, she's an illustrator, and she's never illustrated a book, but she's incredibly talented and things. So luckily enough, Penny at Firefly Press said, well, Alex, if you trust in that, then we'll support you. So I got my auntie on board, and she just did a tremendous job. So I was really heavily involved in that, because she was coming to my house, and we're just kind of chewing over all of these ideas. She's showing me so I was really involved, and it was fun. It did feel like a bit more work for me, in the sense that with Daydreams and Jelly Beans, Katie Riddell, they would just send a few pictures over every now and again, and I'd be like, great, they look fantastic. And that was that. And it's the same with Red Sky. So Ian, it was the same thing. Firefly Press would just say, hey, Alex, here's a few preliminary sketches from Ian, perhaps. Do you like them? And I mean, they're just amazing. Ian's just an incredible illustrator. So I was quite detached from that. But Doughnuts was really I felt like I had a big part of it. And that's down to my auntie, just, I suppose it's developing the confidence as well, because it was my auntie's first book.
Yeah.
And she was just obviously wanting to do the best job she could, but she didn't need to worry, because she's just amazingly talented. So.
She didn't. She certainly didn't, because the illustrations are fab in both books. And
the children really love them in Doughnuts. They're very playful, and that's what kind of illustrator she is. But it's been really lovely to get to know Ian, and I hope that we can do some in-person visits as well, because I know that Ian likes that, and I've been speaking to him quite regularly now over the last week or two, and he's just a lovely chap, from Manchester. I think I'm going to be doing quite a few visits up north, so we'll get together, I'm sure. He's got a studio in Manchester, so he said come along, and it's just nice. It's just so nice, because you're developing relationships, and that's what poetry has done for me. It's connected me all around to people around the country, just you know, literature lovers, people who just love art and performance, whatever that means, whatever it is. It's such a that's a joy, isn't it? You know, that's a joy. And if you feel a bit lonely sometimes, yeah, times when I felt a bit lonely or a little bit down, because, you know, like anybody, and I think a lot of creators as well are kind of like, you can be quite sensitive to the world, and when there's a lot of bad going on in the world, you absorb it, you know.
Yeah.
But so if you're feeling lonely, a little bit blue or whatever, it's strange how like poetry always seems to come in for me. It came in for me like when it first came into my life. But every time I felt a little bit, you know, oh God, you know, I just don't know why. What's the point of it all? Am I doing the right thing? It all takes a lot of energy. I'll just get a message off a lovely parent or a teacher, or a school will like tag me in a video on Twitter of a group of children like reenacting one of my poems. They've turned it into a play or something, and it's like. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. It just keeps on saving me, you know, it just keeps on showing me that there's a lot of light around what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just got to keep on putting the energy into it. I guess I found my passion, haven't I? I think when you find what it is you're meant to do, you owe it to the world to be good at it. And that's what I want to be. I want to be the bad, you know, because I want to put on a good show, and I want to write in the best way that I can, which is like, yes, I want people to be able to travel in the words.
Well, you know, take it from me, Alex, you are good at it. Okay. You are very good at it.
I wouldn't even say it for that, but that's just, I always feel, and it's the same when I was a builder, and well, in a sense, I still am. You know, you don't lose your skills, do you? And that's what I love as well. I teach myself most things, and yeah, you know, I pursue some sort of excellence because I think that that's what it means to be professional in what you're doing, and because I don't like to be competent.
It's the difference in loving something that you do as well, isn't it? You know, it just shines out. It shines out. If you're loving what you do, it comes across in everything.
It does. It does.
Well,
it really does.
that has flown, Alex. Absolutely flown, that interview. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us about the books. As I say, I absolutely loved both of them. And please do say to your auntie that she's really good at this.
She's amazing.
So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Take care, Alex.
Thank you so much, Bev. Thank you. Take good care of yourself.